I knew this was going to happen eventually, but it doesn't make it any less sad and disappointing that it is happening, because the Wii U and 3DS online services will be shutting down in April 2024. And this includes, like, all online features, not just games. Like, also the Nintendo Badge Arcade, and different services through the Street Pass app, or any, like, little feature on, like, the 3DS and Wii U that requires connecting to the internet and everything. All of that will just be completely gone by next year. And just, like, with the games in general, that's still a lot of things that will be inaccessible. Like Splatoon 1, for instance, which still has a fairly active yet small community that plays that game, due to the fact that Splatoon 1 is slightly different from Splatoon 2 and Splatoon 3. And then, like, things like Mario Maker, like, half of that game was playing other people's levels online. That will be gone. So, there's gonna be a lot that will be lost from, online being pulled with, the online services being shut down. And the thing is, I know it's gonna happen at some point. Like, whether it's, like, just a couple years after the console is discontinued, or, like, 20 years after the console is discontinued. It's gonna happen at some point. But I feel like the problem is that Nintendo does it too quickly. Like, the Wii, for instance, though I feel like the Wii does have the case with the fact that they were using kind of like a outsourced company to do their servers for that. I think that's the reason why the Wii online services were pulled so quickly, despite that console being popular, as well as the DS. Like, the online services were pulled for that, like, only, like, 2 years after those consoles stopped receiving, like, first-party games. So, it really wasn't that long. I think it was even before those at least the Wii was fully discontinued that its online services were pulled, which was, definitely a really weird case with that. And then also with its, like, online store and everything, that was also pulled, like, only a few years after everything was fully discontinued. So, with the Wii U and 3DS, it's not quite as bad as the situation with the Wii and DS, but I feel like it's still too soon at this point that they're pulling the plug. Because there still are, like, a lot of people playing the 3DS. I mean, maybe not the Wii U. I mean, there's still a lot of Wii U fans out there. I mean, two is a lot. Don't get me wrong, 2 people is quite a lot, but the 3DS definitely has more of a following than the Wii U and everything. And there still are a decent amount of people using the 3DS. And I know a lot of that is with modding, but there still are a lot of, like, very good exclusive 3DS games. So I feel like shutting down the online services on 3DS is definitely shutting a lot of things down for those people who are still using the 3DS, which I feel is pretty unfortunate. There is a fan server that exists called Pretendo, which is really cool, and I think fan servers are great for preserving online play and online content. I think they are absolutely essential, because like I said, like, the official servers, like, regardless, they're gonna shut down at some point. So I feel like it is good to have those fan servers and everything, but I feel like as of now, we shouldn't have to rely on that. Like, I feel like the Wii U and 3DS servers could have stuck around for at least another few years. Maybe not a full decade, but, like, I would say a few more years would have been good for that. Like, it just seems like they're pulling the plug way too quickly on this. And it's especially apparent when you're looking at the other services involved with, like, the 3DS and Wii U. One comes to mind is Miiverse. I don't know the full story behind how, like, why they shut that down so quickly, but they pulled the plug right after the Switch launched. The 3DS wasn't even discontinued at that point. The 3DS was still receiving new games at that time. Like, it was 2017. That was the year that the Superstar Saga remake released. Hey Pikmin, the Metroid 2 remake, stuff like that. I think Miitopia as well. Like, there were still a lot of new games releasing that year, and the 3DS was still being supported by Nintendo, but they still shut down that service. And then, like, earlier this year, they shut down, like, the eShop and everything, which was only, like, about 4 years after the 3DS stopped receiving new games. Like, new first-party games at that as well. So, that was pretty disappointing as well. So, when you look at it in that perspective, with the 3DS not really being, like, that kind of far off from being discontinued, like, it was really only initially discontinued in 2020 and stopped receiving games in 2019. Well, at least, like, mainline Nintendo games, since that was when, like, the Bowser's Inside Story remake and, like, Kirby's Extra Epic Yarn released. Like, as of, like, the 3DS Online support shutting down, that's only 5 years after it stopped receiving new games, which I feel like is definitely way too soon, especially considering the fact that this includes, like, online services in general, not just online play. And it kind of makes me a little bit concerned for the Switch, just due to the history of how Nintendo has been treating their online services for their consoles. So, with the Switch, a lot of things are heavily based on online due to the Nintendo, like, the big push for Nintendo Switch Online. So, if online services for the Switch shut down, and let's say the Switch is, like, discontinued in, like, 2027, that means the online services will probably be discontinued sometime in the early 2030s, like 2031 or 2032, somewhere around there. There's definitely a possibility that will happen, because we don't really know Nintendo's future that much. Like, if they'll stick to Nintendo Switch Online in its current form. Like, if they do stick to Nintendo Switch Online with the next console and kind of carry that online infrastructure over to the next console and kind of actually stick to that idea that they had with expanding their services over time, I feel like things might be a little more hopeful in terms of, like, the Switch's online support and everything. That might actually last for decades if they do something like that, which is what I'm hoping they'll do. So, I don't know. They might go either way with this. So it's just pretty concerning seeing how Nintendo doesn't really care about the longevity of their online games, as well as preservation, because online includes preservation as well. So, just a little bit concerning to think about. So, yeah, I know it's inevitable that Nintendo shuts down their online services. Like, it's gonna happen at some point. They need to free up some space at some point. But I feel like they do it a bit too soon. And there's, like, one other example that I didn't mention, with the fact that the Xbox 360 servers are not shutting down until next year. And the Xbox 360 released, like, over 6 years, I think, like, about 6 years before the 3DS launched. Like, over half a decade before the 3DS and Wii U. So, and that kind of got, like, online support, like, throughout. So, it's just pretty disappointing to see that Nintendo kind of pulls the plug too early And even though not many people are playing these games online, there still is a lot of content preserved through online services and online play, like Mario Maker, for example, or the Nintendo Badge Arcade, or even certain elements of the Street Pass app, even though Street Pass itself will still be active and everything, due to it just kind of being a local thing. But there's going to be a lot of things that will be lost through this, which is pretty unfortunate. But there will be some things that are still preserved, thankfully due to fan servers. So, if you want to continue the play online on the Wii U and 3DS, I recommend checking out Pretendo. So, yeah, it's good that the fan servers are still there for when things like this inevitably happen. But yeah, anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more, and make sure to check out my Discord server and Twitter if you want to. Goodbye.